Clash of Clans podcast, OG, episode 37. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I am your host, Scotty 827, joined in studio, well, kind of anyways, by the lovely, magnificent, the Tip Dog of the 20. Tip Dog 20.
Tip Dog of the 20.
Of the 20. Sir Tip Dog, how are you
reached
doing?
Episode 37. Isn't that your age?
No.
You're supposed to take the compliment and run with it.
Oh, no.
You look like you're 37.
I'm 44.
You're
and loving every minute of it.
Same here. Although I'm only 41.
I was 37 for 2 years, though.
2 years?
Yeah. I always forget how old I am. And I age myself up, but...
Same.
But I feel 20. So I feel better than I did when I was 20 years old.
I feel 41.
That much.
Do you? Definitely enjoying life more now than I did in my 20s. But that's for a myriad of reasons that we don't have to go into.
Yeah. And then, oh man, hangovers. Well, anyways, welcome back to the podcast, everybody. And I'm glad to be back in studio with you, Tip Dog, because the listeners, for number one, have had absolutely no tips in the last 2 weeks.
That is not true at all. You have given excellent information.
About what?
Everything that you said, and you said stuff like, "Well, Tip's not here," and then you proceed to give the answer, and it's exactly correct. I mean,
is it?
Yeah, yes, 100%.
Oh, okay. Well, I'd have no confidence in my answers for that.
I think at this point, you have reached the point to where you essentially know as much or more about the game. I mean, I don't know a lot about the game, but you're at that point. I mean, looking at your attacks, looking at the way that you play the game, the advice that you give in chat, all of it, I just kind of sit back and I'm like, wow, Scotty, you have come so far, and
I'm a good parrot.
Yes.
No, and I am doing pretty well. And after, so we've been doing more of those friendly challenges, and right before CWL doing some more workshopping and stuff in chat. And I was just it makes me a little nervous when I'm doing that, because I'm somebody's going to come along and see that I just gave them the wrong advice, or something. But it's a lot of the stuff that we're learning here, in what you've been teaching me and telling me, and
if
you can really see the results for sure.
If you look at the reason why we started doing the podcast together, it was for players like Phantom, Massive Hammer, Matt, whatever we want to call them, right?
Yep.
Players who used to play and who were decent back in the day, but they come back to this game and it's like Alice in Wonderland.
Yep.
And what the heck do I do? We just got 4 new event troops. What the heck?
Yeah.
We have equipment, and we have the gold pass, and we have all of these clan capital and a 6 builder on the builder base. What do I do? Phantom is exactly the player that you really wanted to reach out to with this podcast. And you are the result of someone who has just thrown themselves into the game, learned as much as you possibly can about the basics like funneling and troop usage and hero usage. And I mean, you've really, you've come so far. It's amazing.
How did I do it so wrong for so long?
I mean, you had fun. You always had fun, right? And that's what's the most important.
And that's what was kind of coming up in that episode. And I kept thinking about you and kind of wishing you were there to kind of address that, was that question of, do you think, because it's when I left, I'm just going to say it's tunnel 10 or 11, a tunnel 11 probably, pretty solid at that time. And so what I wonder, because I think people are just funneling better just in general.
Right.
And kind of what I'm wondering is was that gameplay at that time right? So we're learning, we get these, it's like golem healer and funneling. Was it as hard as it was now, or was it as hard today as it was then? And if so, is it like the troop memory kind of, did we just not know how to attack like we
So
do now? It's kind of what I was trying to get at in one of those episodes. Like, was the ability to do these like 3 stars there before? I don't, if you can kind of
yeah,
parse
no,
that
I
out.
understand 100%. And actually, I just had the thought the other day, and I was talking with Megan, my wife, about this. How, there have been a lot of changes at Town Hall 16 these past few months. Like, we have had Root Rider nerfs, and we've had equipment nerfs, and most recently we had a massive Druid nerf where literally the Cocaine Bear
Yes.
and the Druid like half by 50%,
Yeah.
like massive nerf, right?
They're cutting some bad shit into that cocaine for that cocaine bear now.
They must
I
have
don't know.
gotten
I don't
caught
know
by
what
the
that really
police.
is. I mean, I've seen it on movies. I think that's correct term.
Woo, woo, woo,
Yeah.
came over. Get rid of those cocaine bears. They're
Mm-hmm.
doing too much damage.
Yeah. The dealer is like on the run. They cut mixing stuff into it,
Bad
baking
boys,
soda.
bad boys. What you
Yep.
gonna do? What you gonna do when Supercell comes for you?
There's a
But they've
crackdown.
done all of these nerfs, and then they added the supercharge for defenses to make defense harder. So, like, they've done a lot of rearranging these past few weeks. And like I said, I was telling Megan, my wife, I really feel like Town Hall 16 is in a very good place for the average player, to where it's not just easy to 3-star by just dropping your troops in. Like, you have to use a lot more strategy, whether you're using funneling like Scotty 827 does, or whether you're using more spam attacks. Like, you still have to look at the base and decide where you're going to put your troops down, because you can't just throw them down anymore and expect a 3-star. And that's very similar to how it was in 2014,
Yeah.
whenever we had the peak of the Town Hall 9 meta. And I know that you never really did Town Hall 9 back in the, I mean, obviously you were a Town Hall 9 at one point, but
But
when
not.
I met you in 2014, you were already 2000, or I'm sorry, you were already a Town Hall 10.
Yeah, I was early 10 for sure. Like I was always early and behind.
Right. And so, like, you never really got to experience that high level of Town
Yeah.
Hall 9, where it
Max
was
Town Hall 9. It was
right,
like that was like almost the standard, like the tournament standard almost, right?
right.
For a while.
And I do feel like Town Hall 16 right now, like the meta that we're in right now, is very similar to how Town Hall 9 used to be in 2015. For example, the only exception that I would say, and I think that this is a good exception, is at Town Hall 16, we have spammier options, because there are a lot of players who love to use spam. I mean, heck, whenever Root Riders were at the top of their game, like, I spammed. Like, I love spam as
What?
long as it comes from a strategic perspective, but there was no spam option at Town Hall 9 back in 2015.
Yeah, never, that never occurred to me.
So that's the only difference. But as far as the balance, because in 2015, the main two armies that we used at Town Hall 9 were different forms of hogs. So we had Hero Dive hogs, Queen Charge hogs, uh, you know, cold blooded, shattered, stoned hogs. But we had the same with Lalo. We had cold blooded, shattered, and stoned Lalo. And those were the two types of attacks that we used. And now
It's
at
like,
Town Hall 16, the
wow.
balance is good, but we have more attacks that we can choose from, which I think overall is a good thing.
Those terms, it's like, wow. Like,
Huh.
yeah, wow. Like, trip down memory things,
Yeah.
dusting
The,
off some more memories.
do you remember Hulk? Hulk was
Yep.
the YouTuber back then.
Yep.
And actually, Boaz did a Boaz Presents with Hulk back in the day. He's the one who came up with those terms. So cold blooded was hero dive entry, because you always had to get the queen, whether you're doing hogs or Lalo. And so cold-blooded was
And
one golem.
was this when it was the heroes were tethered at this point, right?
Tethered, yes, tethered heroes.
Okay.
Uh, so
So
which
I'm
is
asking for listeners out there. There was a time, and why I asked this question is that there was for I don't know the first year of Heroes maybe, or
mhm,
for it was for a long time.
for a long time, yeah.
All you had to do was get the hero's attention, and you could lure it at any part of the base.
Like the CC, for example.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
could you could lure the heroes out to the corner of the base, and they would walk away from the base out to the corner.
That's
You kill them.
and you sometimes that would kill your attack, like
Mhm.
because the hero draw or whatever. I can't remember what we called it all the time, but sorry.
Yeah, because you would trigger them on one side of the base, and you're attacking with, I don't know, loons on the other side of the base, and you would trigger the queen, and then the queen would walk all the way to the other
All
side of the base to shoot all of your balloons down.
and then if you didn't have enough troops, it would be like the lure, you wouldn't have enough troops, like the thing would take it out, and then the queen would start walking all the way back,
Yep.
and right by the time your troops are coming to where they're supposed to, she would kill them all, like the loons or something.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or your minions or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But we had Cold Blooded, which was one golem hero dive entry, Shattered, which was two golem hero dive entry. And the typical rule was if you're doing Lalo, which is what I did back then, if you're using two golems to enter, then you needed to get down the queen plus at least two ADs, air defenses. And then typically Stoned, which I don't know how he came up with Stone, but Stoned was three golems, hero dive entry, and you needed to get two air defenses plus the queen plus some other high value target. And that's the only options that we had back in then, and it was very strategic. But now, especially like with the warden, as you found, like we have so many different options when before the only options we had were cold-blooded, shattered, or stoned entry. Well, now we have, warden. We have the warden's fireball. We have a warden charge. We have a queen charge. We have a hero dive with the king and the RC with a log launcher behind it. Like we have so many more options available to us
Yeah.
when, but I still feel like the balance is very similar to how it was at Town Hall 9. And although it's difficult to not be overly nostalgic, to think that, Town Hall 9 was the perfect like atmosphere for attacking, in reality, looking back, I really think that right now and the meta and the balance of the game right now is very close to what it was. I don't know. Do you feel like that?
I feel like, well, I was thinking about this week, um, well, this last 2 days, right? Because I'm working really hard on getting things caught up on my base and having to farm up these low defenses, like my cannons.
Okay.
And I was attacking and trying to get the loot, and I thought, wow, I was able to do it in, a boost session. I had almost filled my collectors and or storages, I mean, and I thought this is doable. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I did not have to just sweat this out and I'm not thinking through the next week, like to keep this up is going to be crazy. And why I say that is because I I I, I really felt like it kind of feels imbalance,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of feels like in war and stuff. I don't know. It feels more balanced. Like it's it it kind of brought it to that place of like the like CWL, right? Like the 3 stars were still hard. It
Mm-hmm.
was still hard. It wasn't like just overkill. It was, but it was also realistic because if you had a good strategy, like our TH, we had TH16s and we had TH15s, and our TH15s with good strategy could beat the 16s. The 16s, their 16s or whoever's. If you had a good base or you had, a good CC comp, really, I think is a huge part of it more than like I'm seeing just more and more. Um, you could hold, you could defend.
Mm-hmm.
against 15. I defended against 16s, like
Mm-hmm.
not fully, but so I feel like, yeah, I agree. Like it seems like War Stars matchup. Um, yeah, I feel like it's imbalanced. Does that kind of get at what you're asking? You know what I'm saying? Like, did I?
Yeah, yeah, I think so,
Because I'm not
100%.
really
So,
talking about the war side of it so much, but I am like, because it is like what we're seeing in war.
hmm
Um,
yeah, I mean, it's at that point where if you are not dialed in, and if, for example, we've talked about spell placement, like spell placement is so
oh my
important
god.
to ensuring that you're able to have a successful attack. If you just throw out your spells, or if you use them all early, or if you hold on to them just a little bit too long, like it's very important to put the spells down in the exact right spots. And I have found that, for instance, on my Legend League days, on the days when I'm really focused, really dialed in, I'm holding onto my spells just a little bit longer, but not too long, so that way I can have enough support for my troops. Those are the days when I'm seeing a lot of 3 stars. And then the days when maybe I'm a little more distracted, like, as you know, we talked about before we started recording, I've had a lot on my plate recently. And so
Yeah.
there are some days when I have meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting that I have to take care of. And so I am getting my attacks in between meetings, and my mind is not on
Yeah.
the attack. And those attacks where I'm just a little bit distracted, like, so that I understand the overall thing that I'm going to do, the overall plan, but the details are just a little bit off. And
Yeah.
those are the days when I look down through my attack log and I have, 93% 2 star, I have 94%, 91%, 92%, because I'm not focused enough to get that final 5 to 10% in order to ensure the 3 star. Are you finding the same thing?
Yes. And I'm going to ask this question on those attacks, or at least in like some of your war attacks, or with whatever account, are you seeing more time fail?
Sure. Y- yes and no. So I'm seeing time fails on attacks where I did not protect my troops enough to get them through the most difficult core of the base. So, for
Okay.
instance, if I threw down a rage spell a little too early, and we have very similar attack styles. So, I'm
Yeah.
right now at Town Hall 16, I'm using super witches. You're using super bowlers with root riders. Like, it's very similar
Yeah, very
attack
similar
style.
mechanic, like with kind of how those things are running.
Mm-hmm. But like, I'm noticing that it's teetering on this teeter totter where you want to hold the rage just long enough to where your troops can benefit and destroy the defenses directly in front of them, while also at the same time your healers or your druids, whichever one you're using, can come up behind and they step into the rage right before your super witches or your super bowlers, right before they're
Yeah.
about to die, and then boom, they're healed, like all the way up. Like that, towing that line is the razor thin edge of success. And we look at the professionals and the really good players, like it just kind of comes to them naturally. But for those of us who don't play as much as the professionals do, like, I don't know about you, but I notice a difference when, if the rage spell's a little further back than I meant for it to be, or I
Yeah.
panic and I put it down early, well, then my troops aren't supported later on in the attack. And so therefore, I have
And,
3 or 4 super witches. Like, I may have 2 of them die
and if you,
early, and I
yeah,
don't have enough to finish out the attack, and therefore I time fail.
and if you're not dialed in too, like, and you're looking at it, and it's not like when I'm attacking that it's like I'm my attacks look, to be honest, much more organized than the chaos that's happening on the other end. But when you're dialed in, you're also seeing where they're probably going to go next, just enough that
Yep.
that little bit of placement, you're gonna put it, you're gonna have them step into the rage, or just right on it, so that way, okay, they're gonna get it through
Yep.
and and really use that whole spell, or to
Exactly. Yeah.
catch people or to other troops coming into the side. And yeah, like just those little precision things. And
And the other big thing that I see you doing really well and that I'm noticing on my attacks is, especially with our style of attack, which is more of a smash attack, is bringing in the royal champion at the right time.
oh yeah,
So I'm noticing that if I bring my royal champion in a tad bit too early, that she's dying early, and therefore I don't have her to clean up.
yep,
When, or if I bring her in just a little bit too late, well, then she doesn't get the defenses that need to get down, and then all of my super witches die, or my queen dies because she's under too much attack damage. And so that balance of not bringing the royal champion in too early, while
yeah.
at the same time not waiting too late, like that balance again is a razor thin edge that just it's gained with experience, which I'm seeing, for example, in your attacks.
Well, I think now that you say that, what is happening that I didn't where she fails for me is it's almost like if I can send her in when the defenses she's going to target are going to be firing at the main army so she
Yes,
can real flank it.
exactly.
That seems like one particular attack from
Mm-hmm.
last night sticks into my head. Um, but yeah, for sure. And that, are you using the spear yet?
So it's at level 20. I have not. So
Okay,
I
I just
predicted
feeling.
that the haste vial and hog puppet might go by the wayside. I wasn't sure, and I really like the spear, eh, but honestly, like I'm still seeing a lot of success with haste vial hog puppet combination, and so I don't know. I'm also though I'm seeing a lot of spear shield combinations in
Ooh,
order to take out high value defenses, and even later on. So
yeah.
GCBC shared an attack in chat that I was able to watch, and he, sent the crux of his army in. It was a warden walk, right? Wardens destroying shit left and right. And then as he's watching his attack develop, he's like, okay, over here, like the YouTuber is like, okay, over here, I notice that this is going to give my troops problems. And so this is where I'm going to put down my RC. He puts down the RC, triggers the ability immediately so that it shoots out the spear, it shoots out the rocket spear, and takes out that problem area that he's seeing develop as the attack is ongoing. So I can see myself eventually doing something like that, but probably not until my spear is max, and I don't know how much longer it's going to take for me to get it to max. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Okay, it's I just love with the flank especially. I didn't know if maybe you
Mm-hmm.
were using that and that would change it. Well, that's the thing that you really taught me. Um, and I remember when I first saw it uh, on the podcast, or it was I was watching one of your YouTube videos on the Super Bowler, and I noticed, and I'm this is like one of my big lessons, which is really improve my attack, and it's one of the things that like the stuff I was teaching Swim Boy, who I have to talk about it in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Was when I saw on your YouTube that you were holding on the Warden Walk, and when it occurred to me, that, I mean, like I can't remember. I think you were pushing it to like 130 left or something in these.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was a little bit older Super Bowler video, like a year old or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's when I was like, oh my god, he's really taking time at the beginning, and I really started playing with that. And then I started uh, after we were talking about it and watching those um, attacks and replays. It was like it, I had never taken so long to start an attack before. Like it didn't feel natural.
Mm-hmm.
And as I started pushing that time out and knowing that time with my little John, Turn Down for What war song. And I play it every time, and it really helps because I know at like, so I try to push it till almost 2 minutes left in the
Mm-hmm.
attack,
Right.
and I set up the funnel, and from learning that, then I can spam through, right? Like
Right.
then it's
Right.
like all
No,
hurting.
that's no, that's beautiful. So the way that you said it is perfect because essentially what I'm doing is I'm spamming in my super witches. Like essentially what you're doing is you're spamming in your root riders and your super bowlers. And to me, Town Hall 16, and we talked about like the balance of the meta right now, like something like what we're doing, the type of spam that we're doing is still working at Town Hall 16 is working very well.
Yeah.
It's the type of spam where it's just all over the base. Like so let's take Scotty whenever he first started, what, 10 months ago, whenever we first, got
Yeah.
on, that Scotty who would spam in, and that type of attack is not working at Town Hall
Yeah.
16 any longer because you have to be more focused.
It's
And to
almost like
me,
I was trusting every troop to go in there and do their job.
yes. Yeah. Yeah. And to me, that's the sign of a very healthy and a very balanced meta when you have to take the time to funnel. You have to take the time to ensure that your troops will path the direction that you want them to take and not just haphazardly put them down. To me, whenever that planning and that strategicness is required in a game, then that's the sign of a very balanced meta, which I,
Yeah.
I think you agree. It feels very balanced right now.
Yeah, and I'm only a 15, so like 16s are going to experience it
But
different,
you
but
three
yeah.
start several 10 Hall 16s in CWL.
And it looked like I
You did
have it.
amazing.
Yeah, but it was,
I know
I
right
got
now
to
you're
tell
like,
you,
oh, I don't want to like the pat on my back too hard. But man, it was
no,
amazing. Like seriously, it
well,
was awesome to watch.
this
I
was the
loved
thing,
it.
though. It was it's like all about the funnel. And so some of them,
100%. Yes.
so I got to tell you, like that one, I'm thinking, okay, it looks, I have it down, but all I knew, and this is like kind of the bigger lesson, I knew I want this. I want my warden to get to some place or at least to
Mhm.
cut something. And I have like you know, what's the first five things, and same with the flinger on the one side. Like, what is the first five
Yep.
things?
Yep.
What's the best? Then it's like, what's the best chance for it to go on to the next thing or like release the dragons? And what are they going to do?
Right.
Some of them came together like that. I mean, there's 116. I can remember where, and then I replay it, and it looks like I just knew exactly what I was doing,
You do. You
but I had
do.
the
Oh, it's so
pieces in
funny.
motion. I had everything where I wanted, but it wasn't like how it went in my mind at all. And so I really don't even. I mean, I hope I just look for like the funnel, where where can I cut defenses on one side,
Hmm.
so that I have control. Where am I going to hurt it? And what I started doing was pushing it and pushing it and pushing it on the funnel for one, because if you don't get the funnel, you might as well go home.
Hmm.
And then pushing it on spells, like you were saying, and like waiting. And so
Hmm.
watching you and talking about that and the precision and waiting on the abilities and even
Yes.
just testing your warden, like I would always, and I'm talking like 3 weeks ago. Um, oh God, there's an inferno there. It's going to get the whoa. Hold on a second. I start testing it and pushing it in trials, and I'm like, I can take out an inferno with my warden.
Hmm.
You know, um, and then just that warden pull of like dropping troops even up and behind to pull out.
Hmm.
That's like the three things. It's like more about the start, and then the rest is just hurting, kind of for me.
Yep. Yep. And I'm excited to see you at Town Hall 16. Like I know that you're going to be going up here the next couple weeks, possibly. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. So that's what I wanted to ask you. Um, Hammer Jam.
Hmm.
Do we know if it's real coming?
So there have been lots of potential, I'm going to say leaks, but they're from Supercell, where they've done videos, and in the backgrounds of those videos you see buildings, you see stuff that's like, wait a second, like we don't have
Oh,
that
Easter
game right
eggs.
now. So Easter
Oh,
eggs, that's probably a better word, because it's not leaks, as Supercell is the one that's quote unquote leaking them, but you will see Easter eggs in some of these videos, which means that Town Hall 17 is likely coming very soon. And the theme, it's very dark. Like, it's very dark and kind of dungeony, gray colors, like charcoal colors. So it looks very cool. But
you've
immediately
seen it?
previous, so I've only seen the Easter eggs, is all that I have seen on
Oh,
some of the
okay.
Supercell videos and
Yeah.
things.
And
But
they're putting them out there for us to see.
right, yeah, for
Yeah.
us to talk about. I mean,
Yeah.
exactly this, right?
Yep.
So right before a new town hall comes out, it runs one of two ways. So either A, everything is 50% off in cost. So like if a wall costs 4 million to upgrade, well, during Hammer Jam, which is 7 days before the town, or 14 days before the town hall is introduced, during that 7 to 14 day period, everything costs 50% of what it originally was. So that's a great time to get walls done. But they've also done Hammer Jam where the cost is halved and the time is halved. So if
Yeah.
that barracks took 8 days to upgrade prior to Hammer Jam, well, during Hammer Jam, that barracks now only takes 4 days to upgrade. And I don't know like which one they're going to do during Hammer Jam. I think it will really depend on the overall player base. And if they think that the player base is too far behind overall, then they will probably do both time and cost having. And if they think that the player base is probably where it needs to be, then it'll probably just be a having in the cost. We'll
So
have to wait and see.
do you think November 1st?
For Hammer Jam or for you going to Town Hall 16?
Hammer Jam.
I don't think Hammer Jam will be here until December. I could be wrong on that, but Town Hall 16 was introduced, if I remember right, December 4th. And so I think that they're going to wait at least a year before introducing the next Town Hall, which means the first week of December is the most likely target in my mind. But I don't know. Are you seeing like evidences of them possibly releasing it
No,
earlier?
I no, I have no idea. I just said wondered because if they were going to release Town Hall 17 on, like, let's say it was December, right? They do the
Mm-hmm.
Hammer Jam the month before, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm not sure of the timeline. It might be like 14 days before or something like that. I
Oh,
can't
okay.
remember exactly how long it is.
Well, shit, I don't know. Um, yeah, I was. I'm gonna go to 16, but hearing that about 17, like that kind of changes my plan about the dungeony thing because I really do not like the look of Town Hall 16.
We talked about that before. We're just going to double upgrade everything, just
I
upgrade,
think I
upgrade.
am, because here's the thing. That's what I've been doing already, and what I'm doing now is just really catching up my base. I've been sitting at Town Hall 15 and use like you've taught me. Thank God, because I would have really miswasted resources using those not the hammers, using books of building on those high upgrades
Mm-hmm.
and doing all the shorter ones. And like my plan was, I should have enough that by the time I go to 16, I'm not wasting books on like 6 day upgrades or something like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Right.
Um, so I wouldn't mind just catching up and then jumping to 17 because, like I said, I don't even like the Town Hall 14 walls. I'm skipping completely over those, and I'm going I and I'm not like big on aesthetics or anything like that. It's just I just don't like the look of it, and I
you know
stare at
one
my base a lot.
one thing that you have said that I've kind of changed my mind on about is hero equipment.
No way.
And yes.
It must have been a
So
mistake.
no, 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 no,
I
no.
miss. I miss. I
I,
must have missed. No, I'm just kidding.
I think, and when I say it, I think you're going to understand like what the perspective that I'm coming through. So I've always had the perspective on hero equipment that you need to pick two pieces and max them out. I still believe that. I think just pick the best two pieces that you think will work with the majority of your armies
Yeah.
and max them out all the way if possible. But with the recent equipment nerf, I really think after those first two pieces for each hero, it's almost worth upgrading all the pieces equally because we never know when a specific strategy might bring itself to fruition within the meta. And also on the opposite side, we don't know when a specific piece is going to be nerfed by Supercell.
Oh yeah.
Like, I know that Swimboy, for example, has been using the fireball and kind of getting used to it. And the fireball was one of the only pieces of equipment that was not nerfed in the recent equipment nerf, which makes me think with the power of the fireball right now, that Supercell might look at nerfing it in the near future. And if I'm going to spend all of this time throwing all of my ore into the fireball only for it to be nerfed the next day, well, then
Right as you
it
hit
makes
the
sense to
top.
upgrade everything at the same time because
Yeah.
you don't know. So just focus on everything across the board once you have those two pieces max, because then you're able at least to use each piece as it, fades and grows in the meta accordingly.
Yeah, and two things like I agree about maxing, but here's where I went wrong. Where I was kind of not against it, right? I mean, I think it's a good idea, but why I wasn't going that approach was I thought, like for my town hall level, I didn't realize the cap was 24.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking I've got to go all the way to 27 on
27. Yeah,
all
that makes
these
sense.
different things.
Right.
And so I'm thinking, oh man, it's going to take forever to get to 27. So my cap was like way off. But I agree, like at least that one equipment that you're gonna like hold, for your
Like the spear, for
hero.
example, with you.
Yeah, like
Like,
now, and I used it when it was less and whatnot. But yeah, I think that was like the first one, or maybe the mirror was the first one, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna to take this up once I realize that I can't go all the way to
mm-hmm.
um uh 27. Uh, but I really like that cap for the hard mode or the tournaments or whatever that Supercell imposed at 21,
Mm-hmm.
because then it gives me more of an incentive to like level up the other pieces, and it gives me a reason not to max out other ones, right? Because
Right.
if I can
Yeah.
get all of them up to 21, then I have the wide range
Yep.
of things.
And it's even the regular equipment, the common equipment is actually nerfed to level 15 in hard mode, which
Oh,
means like for the earthquake boots and for, the rage vial and the healer puppet, like all of those are max out at level 15 in hard mode. So that's
shit.
even more of an incentive to be like, look, for common equipment, I'm only going to get them at least to level 15, all of the pieces. That way I have the entire arsenal at my disposal. And then those epic pieces of equipment, I'm going to make sure that I get to at least 21. So that way, if we do hard mode tournaments or competitions or whatever it may be, I have all of the options available to me and I'm not lacking in any one area should Supercell decide to nerf specific pieces of equipment, or if a certain piece of equipment just becomes huge in the meta, like the earthquake boots, for example, right now combined with the spiky ball is one of the best equipment pairings for the king. Is depending on the type of attack that you're using. Like it's just massive, but nobody could have predicted that before Supercell decided to nerf and buff certain pieces of hero equipment.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I got to get that rocking up. I've been putting, I try to, I finally hit the place where I've run out of all the resources.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was stockpiled of one thing, and now it's like I just can't get all of the pieces, so I've been working on those lower equipment. Man, that makes me feel even better.
Yeah.
15 for
Yep.
and some of those pieces, yeah, are only to 18. So it's like, so I've been just really now trying to focus on getting more options.
Yep.
So are you gonna do them to like tournament levels or?
Yeah, so like on my strategic rushed account, we in Angry Wookiees, and shout out to everybody who
Yes,
participated in Angry Wookiees this past CWL because it was absolutely amazing,
I can't wait to
amazing
hear about
ride,
this.
amazing ride. So we come in and our town hall level has gone up a little bit. Like before in months past, we had included town hall 12s and town hall 13s at the bottom. Well, this past month, we were mostly 14s, 15s, and 16s. I think we did have a couple 13s in a few of the wars. So we've kind of slowly gone up, but we have a group of guys and gals, and shout out to Mergen, who is active on all of those accounts. Got to know her a little bit better this past CWL, which is amazing. Amazing attacker, very supportive. Love it. Huge shout out.
Yeah,
But like we're
The
slowly
Rock.
like the support to each other is just massive. So Chewie kind of gives us a guideline at the beginning of every war, like, okay, this is what the next war looks like, and we're using Clash King in order to kind of see their town hall breakdown, and then we're talking about it, and then we're going into attack to where we can maximize stars, and that may mean that my town hall 14 is going to need to attack up to town hall 16 for a 2-star in order so that Chewie's Town Hall 16 can drop down to the Town Hall 16 at, number 4, base number 4. And then, my account, Tal Shiar, at number 7 can hit up to number 5. Like we're working really well together in order to
Cool.
ensure that we get the most stars as a clan. And that just all came together in CWL. So me and Chewie were talking about like what attack. We were really close. We barely inched it out this last war, right? And it's the last war of
People were happy when
CWL.
they came back. Yeah.
we needed a 3-star in order to ensure that we were going to promote. And we're talking about what attack. And Chewie's like, well, we'll use your fireball. And I was on, Tal Shiar, my strategic rush channel 16. I'm like, well, my fireball's like at level 5 on this account. He's like, well, use your earthquake boots.
Oh no.
And break in. I'm like, oh, my earthquake boots are level 1 on this account. And he's like, man, like, oh, so the frustration that I felt, because even if my earthquake boots, for example, were like at level 10, that
Yeah.
might have worked for what I wanted, but they were at level 1. So I immediately had that thought, like, man,
Damn
like
it.
Scotty is right. When it after the first 2 pieces, I really think it may be best just to upgrade equally across the board, just because when you come to that situation where maybe a certain piece will work better, even if it is a lower level, well, at least I have it available to me
Your
and it's not level
switchblade.
1, you know?
It's like your Swiss
Exactly.
Army knife. You got your
Exactly.
main your main equipment and then your switchblade or your Swiss Army.
My backup optional
Yeah.
equipment. So that's kind of what I've been doing. Like I had several pieces that were level 1, and I'm like, you know what, screw it, let's get them up. And the lower levels are cheap anyway to upgrade, right? It doesn't take that much ore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think if you're coming up through the town hall levels, like just the regular caps will I don't know what they are, right? But
Mm-hmm.
like
I don't
if
either, off the top
if
of my
some
head,
of
but
these some of the equipment was out at like 14 or whatnot, and I was actually getting it up there, I like right now I just can't max the other stuff. So it's like I'm filling in now, but
yeah, but
um
there are attacks, for example, where a level 12 earthquake boots may work better than a max rage vial and a giant gauntlet for that specific attack. And so
wow.
it's worth upgrading the earthquake boots, even if they're, only to level 10 or level 12, because for that specific attack, you need to open up the base. Like you really need to open up the base. And the giant gauntlet and the rage vial are not going to do that for you. And so, in order to open up the base, you're going to have to use other means. When in reality, if you just had a little bit more leveled up hero equipment for your king, then you could have used that option. And so that's kind of what I'm finding. And I'm like, damn, Scotty was right. I should have listened. Should have listened
Well,
in the
no,
beginning.
and I should have listened to taking the one thing up for sure, like the one thing. Um, but here, what do you think about the Lavaloon? That's what I'm.
Oh, the new troops.
Yeah.
Have you used any of them yet?
Well, and I want to get back into CWL too. The the I actually have been. I just damn it. I just said to mailman. I
Right.
think it was. I don't want to fall in love. I don't. You know.
Disappointed, heartbreak.
But I saw a pretty girl golem on the the army camp. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl.
That Lavaloon is pretty hot.
Well,
Nice
that
green
I like
legs.
that witch
Woo.
golem.
Oh, that one is sexy.
I have, yeah, like it's got it all. Let me
Mm,
tell you. I just been
has
playing with
six
that.
legs.
I played with that one because I thought this would be perfect with my or with my flinger
Uh-huh.
on the outside of the base. Um, but I got the Lavaloon, the hero
hmm
equipment. What do you think?
So the only new troop that do not have experience with is the Ice Minion.
Wow, you get around.
Well, so
That was
these are the
quick.
exact same troops that they released last year
Oh, really?
for Mashup Madness. And it's a little bit different now than before because last year, whenever they released Mashup Madness, Town Hall 15 was max, and Town Hall 15 was a lot more difficult than Town Hall 16 has been. And so, whenever these Mashup Madness troops were released, like it was almost like there was a pressure valve across Clash of Clans, and these Mashup Madness troops, especially Lavaloon, just kind of you felt this collective sigh of relief across the Clash of Clans universe
Really?
because players were like, oh, like here's a way that I can actually 3-star with in a fun way. Like I don't have
Oh,
to be disappointed because I'm 2-starring left and right. I can actually 3-star, and it was a relief. Now this time was when they're being released. We've already had months and months of overpowered troops, starting with Root Riders, and then nerf, 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 and then Druids, huge nerf, right?
yep.
So the player base has already had that release valve of being able to triple pretty consistently. It's been an easier meta. So the response to, in my opinion, of the overall player base is not as dramatic as it was a year ago because a lot more players are used to 3-starring with the armies that they're already using, that now here's just another option that we can use to 3-star, when before at Town Hall 15 almost nothing was 3-starring. And so now we have this amazing option with these really cool mashup troops. So I think that they're really cool. I do, but they definitely don't have the same effect as they did a year ago.
What do you predict is going to be the overkill
So I've
meta
always
on
used
this one?
Lavaloon. So, I mean, Lavaloon, it's just you take out one AD typically with your heroes or by zapping it, and you just put down rages and just watch the Lavaloon just smash, smash, smash
Oh,
across the base. I've already seen it, in Legend League, like it's already taken over, and so I'll probably just take off the rest of the month. I mean, I'm super busy as it is, so it'd be a nice break for me to be able to just kind of let Lavaloon pass, and then once November hits, we can go back to using our regular armies.
so you're gonna use it or you're skipping
Uh,
attacking?
so I'll use it. I used it in war, our most recent war with Tal Shiar. I used it, but I failed on the Town Hall 16. I used Super Witches with my main account, TipDog20, and because the base is called for it. So if I'm not sure how to hit a base, I probably will just Lavaloon like into it and just take it all down because I mean it's ridiculously OP for the types of troop that it is.
Cool. It kind of look. Do you like the hero equipment one? The Warden's
Oh, I forgot
lava?
about that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious. Do you have a response to it?
Well, I did get it up to level 5 just because it was really easy in, to get it up there. I at first was like, I don't think that I'll get the thing in the event pass for sure, but I can't really see me using it. But then the more I thought about it, I could really, if you were using it right on a base with like expos that were down, maybe, or you rewarded walking something, maybe it could just kill. I don't know. Um, so I, I just don't know what to think. I think people are going to find something really creative to do with it. What's your react? I mean, I basically have been like, I want to know what Tip thinks about this because
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of it really.
So honestly, I'm not impressed. And the reason is because essentially the Lavaloon is just an OP lava hound. Like it has more DPS. I think the Lava Hound has, I don't know, ridiculously low DPS, and the Lavaloon has 200 DPS, which still isn't that much. But the HP is similar to the Lava Hound. Actually, I think the Lava Hound has more HP. I can't remember. But anyway, point being, the Lavaloon is essentially the same thing as a Lava Hound. And one of the benefits of using a Lava Hound in, say, your Lalo attack is being able to release the Lava Hound from a specific point on the map. And the reason being is because you want to distract certain defenses like wizard towers
Oh
or
yeah.
whatever as your lava hound makes its way to the air defense. So if the lava hound or the lavaloon is attached to your warden, then that means the lavaloon is going to be popping out of your warden, which means you might not be able to get the angle that you would want to get, to where if the lavaloon was actually one of your troops, like a lava hound, where you could send it in from a very specific angle. Also, if you're going to use the Lavaloon, you're going to have to replace either A, the Heal Tome, or B, the Eternal
Yeah.
Tome. And to me, both of those for Lalo, which is what the Lavaloon is most likely going to be used with, it's just not worth it, because that Heal Tome, lasts, 20 seconds or something like that, can heal your loons through multi-target infernos, through most red bombs. So, and then the Eternal Tome, I mean, like they had to nerf it because it was so amazing and so powerful. So I just don't see it replacing either of those. But that being said, like the pros in Clash of Clans find amazing uses for stuff. So
Yeah.
I could be 100% wrong on this. And I'm speaking on my butt. Who knows? I
No,
don't know.
no, I think this is honestly what, when I see something like this, like if people aren't excited about it, I think
Yep.
this is going to be overkilled in like 2 months or a month. Um, because if people aren't going to use it, or
Mm-hmm.
less, the less people using it, the more they want to bolster it.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes me, just to be honest, want to level it up.
Yeah.
Um,
I'd agree
be,
with that. Yeah, I
be,
mean that's the reason to get it at least. So I've seen players who are
yeah,
like, "Well, I'm not even going to get it, and I'm going to use, the mashup metals in order to upgrade the equipment I currently have." And I'm like, "Okay, that's fine, but be willing to buy it with chimps later on, because what's likely to happen is if people don't use it, Supercell will be buffing it in some
yeah.
way." So I mean that's definitely a consideration for
Because
sure.
like if it gets super popular, then like it, then they want to discourage that use and do something else. So yeah,
Yeah. Good.
that was like the fireball, right? That
Mm.
when it came out, um,
Yep. Until we found uses for it.
yep, so you could find real hard use. Now the earthquake boots, the
Yep. Yep.
giant arrow.
Yep.
I mean, now you're seeing that more.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like the ones that are less obvious will probably be bigger.
Right.
I don't
Yeah, I
know.
agree with that. So I'm at least grabbing it. I'm grabbing it, but I likely will not upgrade it. Well, I don't know. I mean, I just like
Uh,
preach the philosophy of the Scotty method, upgrading everything equally. So I might upgrade it to like at least level 6 or 7,
well,
as I get ore.
when you build up your ores, right, and all your stuff, when you're maxing it out, aren't you? Do you do you have to wait for like starry and like one of the ores, and can you just level up the other ones in the meantime while you're waiting for the one?
Right. So typically I'm waiting for glowy on most of my
Yeah, that's
accounts.
what I'm waiting for that.
Yeah. So like I'm on Boimler, my Town Hall 15 account, and I have 23,000 in Starry Ore, and then I have 87 Glowy and 300 and I'm sorry, shiny ore. I have 23,000 shiny ore, 87 glowy, and 389 starry. So like literally my bottleneck is at glowy ore.
That's
And
where I
at one time
was.
I thought that was going to be starry ore, but even on my main account, like I glowy ore is where it's at. Like glowy is what I'm running out of constantly over and over and over again on all of my accounts. So
And,
like that's where the bottleneck is for me.
and see, I just started getting a couple of those um, other ones up to like trying to level them up to 24. And I was in that same situation, I think, when we were talking last. And then over the last couple weeks, getting those last levels on, I think, a couple epic equipment just wiped me out. And so now I'm back around. But what I'll do just to level up the other things is just, I go, okay, if I got this much star ore, well, let me get the other one to the next level, and then I can burn these ores on it,
Right.
3 levels,
Yeah.
almost. And while
Yeah.
I wait for the one, is that
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm doing.
that's a good way to do it, right?
Yeah. And it makes sense. Yeah. It does. 100%.
I finally am getting my healing tome, gonna max it out. But it was just crazy because I was waiting on one. I think it was the glowy,
Mm
and I got it because I'm still waiting on starry. And then I had all this shiny, just boom, 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 and
hmm.
I'm
Mm
like,
hmm.
oh, now I'm waiting on the other one again. So, um,
Yeah.
uh, let's CWL. Uh, I have a question about that. Did you? So we were talking about the strategy, right? You were giving me the rundown.
Mm
Do you think that strategy would work in L?
hmm.
Or, I mean, do you think we need to be more strategic in our attacks?
That's a tough question. And the reason it's more difficult is because there's more of a spread in Angry Wookiees.
Yeah,
So, for
it's
example, in the clans that we're going against, which we were in Crystal 1 this last CWL, the town halls that we were facing ranged from Town Hall 16, like all the way down to even like Town Hall 11, some wars. Like it was just this big range. And so there was more of an opportunity to pick and choose from different town halls that different accounts could 3-star or 2-star if needed. And I think we
yeah,
have less options in L because we are in a higher league, Masters 2, and then B, we have higher accounts overall. Like we have, I don't know how many Town Hall 16s we have. So I
so
don't know if
I
it would work or not.
I think the breakdown was, and I'll just give picture for the listeners. So this CWL, uh, we have been typically splitting into 2 clans. Um, our sister clan, Angry Wookiees, Chewie's clan, and House of L, and really trying to balance it between what we have for our matchups, because we had the last CWL, we had 13s and 14s up against 15s and 16s,
Mm-hmm.
16s predominantly. So this time, um, wanted to try to bring it more in balance, and just you know you want to make sure everybody's having a good time and all this stuff. So what we did was we had originally were thinking about L2,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know Chewie wanted. I didn't know if he wanted to do Angry Wookiees or what, and so he said he did, and so then we had all these minis, and and he said he wanted these accounts in and yada yada. So I'm like, oh, okay, so we're gonna have more people, and L2 was, I can't remember, gold. Was it
L2 is
gold,
silver too,
silver too? So like
which is
soup.
crazy low. Yeah.
So what, and I had been keeping track of minis more, and so then I just switched it up in looking at it, because in looking at organizing for CWL, um, on the podcast, I remember a while ago, we were talking about bringing in ringers and things like that, um, talking about like multiple accounts and things, and I know that eventually, uh, when we're getting into, I don't really know actually how it all works, but I assume that it, the best thing that we can do is to try to have is all main accounts or all one account teams
Mm-hmm.
so that we have a roster of at least 15 and hell and people with multiple accounts were just really flexible with and Daddio um and so I just was kind of putting the numbers together, and it was like it worked out that we had L had I think just one account from everybody mostly. I think that maybe
Mm-hmm.
there was two, one more, maybe two, and so we did 10 16s and 5 15s,
Mm-hmm.
and so we had a 30 last and 15 this time, and then the rest went to Angry Wookiees, and multiple accounts over there.
Mm-hmm.
Like for main accounts, like the people in L uh, went over, like the lower ones went over, lower town halls went over there, and then the minis went to L2
Mm-hmm.
and leveled up. And so it, for me on the outside, it felt really good. Like the CWL, I think our matchup, it wasn't as stressful. I don't know why. I don't know if it was like I thought maybe with just 15 single um, individuals that it might be scrambling to get people or whatnot, but it just seemed to flow really well.
Mm-hmm.
So, were you in L2 as well?
Yeah, I had 7 accounts in CWL this past run. 3 of my accounts were in L2, 3 were in Angry Wookiees, and then one Tip Dog 20 was in House of L.
And what was the war in L2 like?
We trounced everybody. So GCBC ran L2, and I think we had I can't remember what we had up top. Town Hall 14 up top, and I think we had Town Hall 11s at the bottom, but we were going against Town Hall 8s and 9s most. I think we had one clan that was like Town Hall 15s and 16s, but nobody attacked. So like
Oh,
we
okay.
ended up with like 390 stars, and then the next closest clan to us in like second place was like 194 stars or something like that. So it's
That's
something
cool.
ridiculous. But also like that's really low. So we still got to go through silver 1 next month. Then we have to go 3 levels of gold, over the next three
Yeah.
months, and then we have to work our way through crystal after that. So it'll be a while before we can get
Yeah.
that.
And I didn't even think about that and putting like trying to do the wars, like set them up. I was like, oh yeah, we should have a good matchup no matter what. And then when I think GCBC mentioned it, I was like, oh shit.
Mm.
And so what'd you think about the L matchup?
It was good. Like it's gonna take us being able to eventually field 15 Town Hall 16s, or maybe in whenever Town Hall 17 is introduced, like
Yeah, how will that
15
change
Town
that?
Hall 17s for us to really be able, because not all of us have the skills of Scotty 827
Yeah,
and is
right.
able to 3-star Town Hall
It's
16s as a Town Hall
oh
15.
my god.
Like, let's just be real.
Happy accidents. Really. It was
They
like
were amazing, man. Like seriously, what
it
you
just
did
looked
like
that way.
3 times. You
I
3-star Town Hall 16s like 3 times in CWL. Like
I blacked
Scotty,
out. It was
Scotty.
no, I'm serious. I'm yelling.
You're a beast.
There's one I'm yelling. No way. No way. And no way.
You know that
And I'm
song,
not going to get it.
the theme song that Tip Dog 20 picked out for you? That's 100% you. Like Town Hall
Oh,
15,
oh my
smashing
god.
Town Hall 16s, like 100%.
Uh
100%.
oh my god. And then I replay them. I'm like, it really looks like I know what I'm doing, doesn't it?
Cuz you
Like
do.
I mean,
Oh, I love it. I love it.
it's just funny how that we're and hello, did you how many stars did you miss this CWL?
So I did
one.
okay for my first 6 attacks were great. Like I 3-starred all of those. And then my 7th attack, I decided to stray from my normal Warden Super Ball
Oh,
super witches, because there was a base that to me looked like would be great for a Sarch blimp. So I sent the Sarch blimp in, and I got baited. Like I got baited hard, and my blimp
oh,
went down early, and I lost all of my troops. And so on my very last attack in CWL, I 1-starred, unfortunately. But that's okay, because it happens. Like one
yeah.
stars happen, and
I was
like
doing
people
really
are one
good, and
starring. Like
then I went
it's
two and
part of the
one, I
game,
think.
right? And it's okay, totally okay. 1-stars happen in the game. We're not all pros here, you know.
Well, and I think I 2-starred. I was doing really good, and then doing really well. Then I think I 1-starred and then 2-starred or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just a real, and everybody was having problems on the one war. And that last war, I thought this should be easy. Like I thought they were. I don't know why. I thought we're going to take these guys, and their bases just were
Yeah.
just tough. Some of them are just deceptive, and I think some of the
Yep.
deception is walls
Yep.
to
Yep.
like, lower walls. You think you're going to walk through it, and I don't know if you like from last war for sure.
Yeah. We need to talk about possibly getting bases from WBB. Like
Yeah.
we'll have to talk about that as
Well,
co-leaders and see if that's something we want to do.
I feel like this CWL was the right model
Mm-hmm.
for like going. I mean, I don't know about you, like, but I thought like, wow, it just went smooth. And so now if we know like this is the setup, right? Like for next month, then it's kind of like, okay, we don't have to redo everything. Just
Mm-hmm.
like here's the roster updated, and doing the same thing unless we can fill in more, one place or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was thinking that, yeah, now is the time. We've kind of hit a rhythm, I think, and starting to look at even like some tournament stuff even. Now that we're moving into winter and
Yeah.
can't really do shit when it's snowing outside.
Well,
I
not
mean,
all
you
of
can
us
go
live in
outside,
Minnesota
but
either.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Soon there's going to be like 16 feet of snow on the ground, and I'm not going to be able to leave the house.
Well, it's snowstorms in Minnesota and it's hurricanes in North Carolina, so
Yeah.
it's all good.
Shout out to everybody there who's dealing
Yeah,
with that.
it's been rough. It's been rough, but that's
It's
okay. We're getting
yeah.
through it.
Speaking of hurricanes, Swim Boy.
I knew you were gonna bring this up. We're calling him out, but he's a little bastard for doing what he did. By the way,
A
you go
little
ahead,
mother
little bastard.
fucker. Scotty's staying up, watching CNN, looking for Swimmy floating on a cooler or something.
Swim boy.
Swimmy Swim Boy. It is Thursday night. The hurricane is about to hit Florida, and a little story time for you. Swim Boy says, yep, because he is in Tampa,
Mm-hmm.
where shit's about to go down. He says, yep, we're going to be entering the eye wall within the hour. I'm about to go out in it, though. Then I can say I swam in a hurricane. And then that I went out in the 7th worst hurricane ever. And Boots just says, you'll need to get a custom shirt made. Doesn't try to talk him out of it. And Swim Boy says, cock hurricane survivor as the letters. I'm thinking at this point when I first saw it, oh, he went and came back.
Right,
But
right.
it was only 2 minutes. And then I said, I hope those weren't his last words. And then we didn't hear from him for a day and a half.
Did not hear from him. The little bastard.
The little bastard.
The little
left.
bastard. We're sitting here worrying about Swim Boy jumping out and
I didn't know
swimming
if I
in a
should put
hurricane.
him in the next war or not. No, I'm just oh.
And then he pops on day and a half, 2 days later. Oh, hey guys, gotta get my text in.
So he was clinging to a log in the Gulf of Mexico, but he still got his attacks in. Oh, so
We love you, Swim Boy.
we love you, Swim Boy. Shout out to everybody down there in Tampa. God, I'm just listening to the news and just thinking, this swimmer was out as oh my God.
We found Clash of Clans on his phone.
Yeah.
That was
Oh
funny.
my God. That was that was something. Um, what do we have left to just all of a sudden like got dizzy from laughing hard.
I can't think of anything else.
Um, what do you think about the Druid nerf, real quick?
Like it was needed. Like it was needed. Like we discussed how like everybody had just switched because Root Riders, had seen and the equipment had seen a nerf, and like everybody had just switched to using mass druids, 8 to 10 druids in every single army. And I think Supercell saw that too, and they're like, "Wow, this is not
We're not
healthy
gonna
either.
wait a
Let's take care of
month.
it right away." So I
Yeah.
think that's the reason that they
And you
did
were
it.
kind of saying that's what you wanted to,
Yeah,
like
definitely.
for them to adjust quicker.
I do think that maybe they overcorrected a little bit, to be honest with you. Um, I don't think they needed to nerf it that much, but I do think that they were responding to Worlds, which is coming up, and they
Oh,
didn't want professional players to have this overpowered troop to where they would just wipe all the bases that they were attacking out with. And so that I think that's the reason why they nerfed it so hard. But in my opinion, they did not need to nerf it by 50%. They could have done, 25 or 30%, I think. Maybe,
yeah.
maybe a little more. I mean, it would have taken some testing, but I don't think that they needed to do a 50% nerf across the board. But they did, and it had the effect. Nobody's
Yeah.
using, other than, like entry druids, I still see being used for like root riders, or like in your case, you use them with super bowlers. I still
Yeah.
see entry druids, but I don't see the mass druids anymore, which I think is good. Like, I think that's a good change for the meta.
And I'm using two of them, and I did notice a little bit, but honestly, like I pro like my percentage. I think I started to get on the time fail a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but so I'm not using a ton. So it didn't hit me too hard. Like I think I'm just using a more. I'm kind of seeing in my attack like where I was getting more from it or less from it. And so I've been trying to like take them out even, but I still think I think I need them a little
Yeah,
bit in
it's
my attack.
yeah. I mean, it's still a powerful troop. Like
Yeah, it's working
they still
still,
have
but
their uses. It's just not necessarily, they're not as overpowered as they once
they're
were.
just not taking over, which is good.
Yeah.
Do you think then, like, because Worlds is coming up, like, this is like Supercell's moment, like you were saying earlier, to bring things into balance?
Yes. Yeah. 100%. Like, I
That's
think the
cool.
meta is set. Like, I don't know that they're going to be making many more changes, but especially with the hard mode activated, like, I think meta set now, their eye is on Worlds and how to make it a good show to convince as many people to watch Worlds as possible.
Do you think the state of the game with balance is where it was at last year?
Last year was a little bit harder, I think. I think the meta, I think the meta was a little more difficult, just a little bit. I think it's a little bit easier this year, even with all the nerfs and such. But that being said, it's not. It was before like really easy, and now I think it's just hard enough, like as we've discussed, for it to be fun for the casual player, and yet difficult enough for the professional player on hard mode to actually make it fun to watch and not 15v15 wars. That's
Do
for
you
15 stars v 15 stars wars.
do you think so? I guess my one thought was it got out of whack, right?
Mm-hmm.
Between last year and this year. Do you think it's in a better spot to not get out of whack? Or do you think like when Town Hall 17 comes out, no matter what, things just will have to like do you think they have a better vision maybe for the next year?
I don't know. I mean, I think
Because
that's
now that
kind
you're
of
saying the balance, I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, and then the worlds and like it seems like the like even farming is like getting it like a little like better. Um,
So players have always like the Supercell's always done this. So players have always said, for example, that Town Hall 12, whenever Town Hall 12 was max, was the most balanced the game had ever been. Like max Town Hall 12 was difficult enough to where, if you messed up, a little bit, like you work on a 3-star, but yet if you're dialed in and focused, you could 3-star. And then Town Hall 13 came, supposedly a little bit easier, or maybe it was opposite, but I don't know. But anyway, point being, Supercell has kind of rotated between easier town halls, harder town halls, easier town halls, harder town halls. And I don't know if it's because they're kind of seeing the reaction of the player base. Like, are they having players leave? Are they having players excited to play and stay longer? Like, what's the response? And they have come out and said that Town Hall 15, for example, was too hard overall for the player base, and they didn't want to make that mistake again. And so I think they overcorrected to the easy side. So, I mean, in my opinion, like it's anybody's guess as to what they're going to do with Town Hall 17. Like, are they going to go a little bit easier again, or are they going to try to
yeah.
keep this balanced meta? Like, is an ongoing balanced meta too boring for the overall player base? Does it
Oh,
make us more interested overall if it dips between easy for 3 months and then hard for 3 months and then easy? Like, I don't
yeah,
know. Like, that's all based on psychology and sales and
yeah,
all of that. And I don't know the answer to that, to be honest with you. What do
yeah.
you
Just
think?
oh, I don't know. I'm just kind of wondering because it's like you look at it and you think if it's coming into balance now and they've done this over and over with each new town hall, is it us that unbalances
Yeah.
it, or um, I'm just kind of wondering, yeah, like what you think like the next um, year will be. I don't know. Just like if you think like if they're better set up right now for Town Hall 17 than
I
they
do think
are
it's a
for
I think it's a
16.
conscious decision on their part. So I
Okay.
do think that Supercell looks at the town hall and they say, I think they looked at Town Hall 16, and I think they actually said and agreed to as a team to say, we want Town Hall 16 to be an easier meta, so we're going to make it happen. Like, I think they decided that. And I don't know that
Oh,
that was
okay.
really good for the game. And so, like, I think that they're adjusting back the other way. And I think that they are very purposely deciding how to adjust Town Hall 16 to make it harder, like which troops, how to do so. Like, they made that minor adjustment to hard mode, for example, with the 5, 10, and 15% nerfs to heroes
Yeah.
and DPS. And then they, took that out, and now they're doing an equipment nerf. Like, I think they're kind of playing with it a little bit to try to find that right balance, but I don't know like what's the best for the future, which is the difficulty of owning a gaming company, right?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
how do you all these factors, and then on top of all that, like I don't want to, I definitely don't want to accuse Supercell of this, but how do you make the most money off your player base?
Yeah.
So if players find the most fun with maybe a little harder meta, but they spend more money with a little easier meta,
Oh,
like where's that balance?
I suppose you got to look at that like in the if you're thinking about like, oh, this game mode is, if it's like this, we're seeing less spending
Right?
or I mean, lots of different factors, but like I
Lots,
didn't think
yes.
about like and maybe just player engagement and da 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 da
Mm-hmm.
da 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 da. Yeah, I don't know. I just was blown away when I was farming. So, and I think I'll make a decision on 16. I'm itching to go up. Uh, but I'm
I'm gonna get that
feeling
checked
good
out.
about
That itch.
that itch. Uh, but I think I'm really feeling good about if I can just catch up on if I could get my base like maxed, I would be all right with that. If it doesn't slow down like pets or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm kind of waiting on the hammer jam, but
Mm,
it's probably going to be this month.
maybe we'll have to wait and see.
Well, shout outs.
I did want to shout out Osix Pat, who just did an amazing job in CWL coming back. And then also Shane. So Shane came out of retirement
Oh
from House of
yeah,
L2, joined us in Angry Wookiees, did an amazing job for having not played. Like Shane was always pretty good at Clash of Clans. Like I didn't interact a lot with Shane back in the day because I quit in 2016, right kind of when he was coming into the House of L family. So I didn't know him super well. But shout out to him because man, he came in and just like did a
swinging.
really great job. And Osix Pat as well, who, you know, in the past few months has come back into the game and has gotten back into the swing of things. So, and then of course, shout out to Chewy for doing a great job running Angry Wookiees, GCBC for doing a great job
L2.
running L2s. Like it was just smooth all the
Ditto.
way through the process. And you as well, like great job running House of L. It was amazing to see, you know, all three clans like set up and running and going, and just
Yeah,
really overall great job.
seems smooth. People weren't chatting a ton on Discord, but I think people are chatting, in the clans and stuff. So,
Yeah, and
um,
also Swim Boy does not deserve a shout out, so I'm not going to give you a shout out, Swim Boy, because you don't deserve it. Because you
yeah.
scared us, you scared us half to death, you little bastard.
Hurricane survivor. He made it to swam to Wi-Fi signal. That is dedication.
I love it.
Um, my shout outs, just everybody in House L this for CWL. It was fun. I had a good time. Thank you, Tip Dog. You were how many freaking war attacks and making sure everybody was where they needed to be and kicking ass number one in the House of L.
Who?
We had Master Sanatu. I'm gonna butcher that name. Sanatu. Join Daddy-O. War Pig just slaughtering shit left and right. And Tyler dropping off war loot.
Big thanks to Tyler.
Who am I forgetting? A ton of people. A mailman joined.
Oh, that's right. I'm looking forward to him getting back into it.
And I'm looking forward to catching up with Shane. Shane was leader of House of L after I left, and I want to know the story. So it's good to see him back. We haven't really had a time to catch up, but yeah. Well, I guess you can get a hold of us at clashclanspodcast@gmail.com or find us at clashclanspodcast.com, or you can stop by the House of L and join. We are probably recruiting, where are we at? 14, 15, 16? Maybe. We're getting really filled up, but like I said, with the CWL, we're moving some things around. Otherwise, and follow Tip. This is stuck in my head. Follow Clash Tips on YouTube. Follow Clash Tips on YouTube.
Follow my tip.
Follow his tip. Great strategy videos and really cool videos on just like equipment and perspectives, and find a bunch of stuff there. So until next time, keep it clashy.
Keep it clashy.
Skilly beep 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 skilly beep.